Fay works the late shift as a switchboard operator. Back then, in the 1950s, phone calls weren't just dialed. They had to be manually patched through. She's calmly plugging cables when the night takes a strange turn. She gets a call from a woman. The voice on the other end is shaky, scared. The woman says there's a large object flying above her house. Not just flying, but tearing through the sky, spinning like a tornado. She says it's moving too fast to be a plane. She begs Fay to call the police. Fay freezes. She's not sure what to make of it. But before she can respond, the call cuts out. A moment passes. Everything is quiet again. Then, a new noise. A sound comes through the radio. It's not music. It's not talking. It's something else. Something she's never heard before. A low humming pattern that doesn't belong to any regular broadcast. But before we go further, earlier that day, the whole town had gathered for a high school basketball game. It was the biggest event in town that night. Everett, 18, was there helping out. He runs the local radio and knows his way around the equipment. On his way out, he ran into Fay. Fay's full of wild ideas. She had a new tape recorder and was excited to show it off to Everett. As they walked, she talked about future things. Self-driving cars, fast trains, and tiny screens for talking face-to-face. Everett just smiled. He didn't think much of it. He dropped her off at the exchange. Then, he headed to the radio station. Now, back at the switchboard, a strange, distorted sound comes from the radio. Fay leans closer to listen carefully. It sounded like something or someone could be unsafe. Whatever this is, it isn't normal. And she has no idea. Things are only going to get stranger from here. She calls the police, but no one is at the station. The cops had to go attend an urgent emergency. She calls a friend, another operator, but the call drops for no reason. Fay then calls another friend and asks she heard the strange noise on the radio, but the call disconnects again after few seconds. Fay doesn't understand what's happening. She quickly calls Everett and asks about the strange noise from the radio. At first, Everett doesn't know what she's talking about, but he listens carefully as Fay explains. Fay says the sound didn't feel like static or a broken wire. It felt important. She's sure something's not right. Everett starts to wonder if maybe the sound was recorded by mistake on his station's equipment. Now they're both curious. They decide to look into it. Maybe this sound is more than just a glitch. Maybe it's connected to something bigger happening in their quiet little town. Everett checks the station's gear and finds out Fay was right. The strange noise is real and recorded on his equipment. He still doesn't know what it is, but he knows it's not random. So he goes live on his show and makes an announcement. He plays the sound over the air and asks if anyone out there has ever heard it before. Not long after, something happens. Fay gets a call. A man on the other end says he recognizes the sound. Fay quickly connects him to Everett. Both Fay and Everett listen intently, hanging on every word of the man's gripping tale. The man's voice is steady, but the story he shares is anything but far from it. He says he used to work in the military. One day, he and others were given a secret job. They weren't allowed to talk about it. Not then, not now. But he says the job involved being taken to a hidden place out in the middle of nowhere. There, they were told to dig. The hole was huge, shaped like a square. As they dug deeper, they found something massive, a machine, bigger than anything they had seen before. What it did, or where it came from, no one knew. Guards watched them closely. They weren't allowed to ask questions or take a closer look. The work was hard, the rules strict. Then one day, the whole operation was shut down without warning. They were pulled out fast. But before they left, they heard something on the radio. The same strange sound that was just played on Everett's radio show. The strange noise was not just unsettling, it was terrifying. The caller said it felt like the sound came from both deep underground and high up in the sky at the same time. After returning home, he became very sick. Later, he found out it was due to strong radiation exposure. When he tried to contact the others from that secret job, the truth got even darker. Many of them were sick too. Some didn't make it. Those who survived were left with strange health issues and questions they couldn't answer. But one of them became obsessed with the sound. He started working in radio, searching night and day to find its source. He realized the sound was coming from far high above, higher than any airplane could fly. It was like something above, in the sky, was communicating with something far beyond, sending and receiving signals. Over time, he made copies of the recording and sent them to everyone who had been there, hoping someone could help figure out what it meant. One of those copies, the man said, had been sent to someone in New Mexico. That could be the lead Everett and Fay were looking for. Before hanging up, the caller gave them the man's name. It was Raymond, and then the line went silent. Everett looked stunned. He knew the name. The man had passed away recently, but there was a chance his belongings were still around. Word was, everything had been sent to the local library. Without wasting time, Everett and Fay headed there. They searched shelf after shelf until they finally found it, a tape labeled with the man's name. Their hearts raced. Back at the radio station, they played the tape. This version of the sound was longer and much clearer. Everett believed this could be the breakthrough. Maybe someone out there would hear it and know what it was. So once again, he played the recording on air and asked anyone with information to call in. Not long after he plays the sound, the power cuts out. Total blackout. Fay and Everett panic for a second. Then it hits her. If anyone tries to call, the switchboard will ring. That means someone has to be there. As soon as they get to the switchboard, calls are already waiting. People are saying the same thing. There's something in the sky. They can't see it, but they can feel it. The air feels heavy. Not long after, the switchboard rings again. A woman's voice came through. She said she knew a lot more than the last caller, but she wouldn't talk over the phone. She asked Everett and Fay to come to her home. She said, some things had to be said face to face. Everett asked her name. She said it's Mabel. They agreed. When they arrived, an elderly woman was waiting. Her face was calm, but her eyes told a different story. She began telling them about something from long ago, something the city had never forgotten. Mabel spoke of a train, a full passenger train, that vanished without a trace. Hundreds of people were on board. The train left the station, but never arrived. Authorities searched everywhere. Nothing was found. But days later, a woman was found walking through the bushes. She said she had jumped off the train just before it disappeared. Mabel's family took her in, but something wasn't right. She started whispering to herself in a strange language that no one in the town spoke, muttering sounds that sent chills down the spine, sounds that were almost the same as what Everett had played on the radio. Worried, the family started keeping her in one room to watch her closely. But one night, she disappeared through a window. She was never seen again. Years went by. The woman telling the story got married and had a son, Hollis. But then, something strange happened again. Her son started speaking in the same eerie murmurs when he was 10 months old. She took them to doctors. No one had answers. Years went by. Her son got older, about 4 years old. He often stared at things for too long. At times, his behavior felt off. Sometimes, he wanted to tell her something he couldn't explain. He often used to say those strange words in his sleep, so she wrote them down, word for word. One day, a strange sound came from outside their house. It was loud, like giant metal blades spinning fast in the air. Her son looked up, pointed at the sky, and said something, but it wasn't English. It was the same eerie murmurs. When the noise stopped, the air went quiet. Everything felt normal again. But her son, he had no memory of what just happened. He just went back to playing like nothing was wrong. Mabel stood there, thinking. Maybe something up there, in the sky, talking to him. Something only he could hear. But then, she shook her head, as it sounded too strange, even to her. After some time, when her son was 9 years old, he just disappeared. Walked out of the main door and never came back. He disappeared behind their house. No one saw where he went. She ran outside and followed his footprints, but they stopped. Right in the middle of the path, like he had vanished into thin air. She said whoever's up there doesn't go near big cities. They pick small towns instead, quiet places. They wait for people to gather, then they start messing with their thoughts. They twist what people feel and make them act how they want, like they're pulling strings from above. The woman's voice trembled as she finished her story. She said she has spent her whole life looking for her son, but he was never found. Everett and Fay were silent. Her story wasn't just strange. It was haunting. The sound, the train, the missing boy. Somehow, they were all connected. And now, the mystery felt even deeper than before. After hearing everything, the woman finally said what she believed. Her son had been taken by aliens. The room went quiet. Everett didn't say much, but inside he was doubtful. He wasn't sure if she was telling the truth, or just confused from grief. Fay went home to check on her baby sister, but something was wrong. The babysitter was missing. She panicked, grabbed her sister and her camera, and rushed back. As soon as she got to the radio station, a few people showed up. They said something strange was happening outside of town, so they all left together to check it out. While driving, Everett thought it might help to play the strange tape again. Maybe the couple would recognize it too. But as soon as the tape started playing, something weird happened. The couple began acting off. Their eyes went blank. Their speech slowed down and their heads started to point towards the sky. Then the car swerved. The wheel moved like it was being pulled by something else. Fay gripped the seat, terrified. Everett quickly reached over and shut off the tape. And just like that, everything went back to normal. The couple blinked and looked around, confused. Fay couldn't take it anymore. She flung the door open and ran into the woods with her sister. Everett shouted her name and chased after her. Then they stopped. Right in front of them was something neither of them had ever seen. A UFO. It was real, floating just above the ground. Fay and Everett stood frozen, speechless. The screen slowly fades, but then the camera pans down. On the floor, just outside the exit doors, are two sets of footprints and the tape recorder. No Fay, no Everett. They're gone. The final shot lingers on the empty space where they stood. It's clear now, they were taken, just like the others who got too close to the truth. And the tape, still playing. Take care, and bye for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me and gives me the motivation to keep creating more entertaining videos just for you. Your support truly makes all the difference.